Hey guys, I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I'm super excited to bring everyone this review, since a lot of you have asked me before in the past when I'm finally going to review Apple's iMac desktop, and now that they got refreshed, I thought this was the perfect time. The iMac is my main production machine, and I spend a lot of time in front of my Mac editing and scripting, but you'll notice something. This computer looks awfully familiar. While I was excited about the many rumors about a drastic redesign to the iMac, I'm actually quite content just because the iMac design is so iconic and clean. However, these bezels are thick, and it's not the good thick either. These bezels belong back in 2010 and have no business in 2019, but I'll brush up on design later on. We're gonna go in depth today discussing all the new changes to the iMac line because internally we have massive gains. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump straight in. First things first, if you don't lift, you may have trouble with this box. Seriously, not only is it big, but it's heavy. But luckily, Apple knows that and hooks us up with this handy dandy handle to easily carry our iMac out of the Apple Store. On the front of the box, we have our iMac in all of its glory with that gorgeous 5K display showcasing the capabilities of the color accuracy, and it must be seen in person to truly appreciate. On the back, we are showcased the profile of the computer, and man, this thing is slim. It's funny because I don't know what kind of gym gains the iMac is trying to accomplish. Like, it has thick bezels, but is super slim from the side. Like, Apple, please make up your mind. As a matter of fact, at its thinnest point, the iMac is only 5mm thin before it starts to curve outward to make room for the internal components. There's no doubt this is one of the reasons the iMac just looks so attractive to look at. Apple makes this unboxing easy for us by providing this pull tab. Pull off the tab and now you can swing the box open and your iMac is nestled in with plenty of styrofoam padding to protect it during shipment. Because honestly, when you drop this kind of money on a computer, it deserves that kind of treatment. Be very cautious to not drop your iMac while unboxing it. Just hold your horses. I know you're excited, but just hang in there. Remove the top portion of styrofoam, but before you do, make sure you take out your accessory box. It comes in a white box saying designed by Apple in California, and inside you have your Magic Keyboard and Magic Mouse along with documentation like warranty support and Apple stickers, and by a miracle, Apple decided to include a little goodie for us. It's a cleaning cloth to clean your gorgeous 5K display. It's sad because I remember when Apple would include so many accessories like in their iPod days, but now we just get the bare bone minimum, but it's nice they included this as it can also be used to clean iPad screens and other Apple devices. Now, these are the default configurations in terms of accessories, but you could opt to pay $50 more and get the trackpad, which I highly recommend if you're going to video edit or use Photoshop, as the pinch to zoom and other gestures are way easier to use on that than on the touch capacitive Magic Mouse. Or pay $129 to have the best of both worlds and get both the Magic Mouse and Magic Trackpad. Additionally, Apple will sell you the longer numeric keyboard for $129, which is more useful if you're gaming or are going to use this, say, maybe for a business setting, since having that number pad will definitely come in handy. Now, one huge gripe I have with the Magic Mouse is the idiotic way in which it's charged. Like, I get it, you only have to charge it once every couple of months or so, but still, it renders your mouse unusable while having to charge. Sure, I know 5 minutes of charging gets you an hour or so of juice, but still, this design is so flawed, and I wish they have a better solution to charge the Magic Mouse going on into the future. Oh, one last thing, you get a lightning to USB adapter as well to charge up these devices. Moving on, now you can push the bottom two styrofoam protectors out of the way, but also make sure not to throw these away, otherwise your computer will never turn on. This is because your power cord is actually nestled into one of these secret compartments, so make sure you don't miss that. Afterward, you're ready to remove the cloth-like protector surrounding the iMac in mystery. Just peel off the adhesive part from the back and pull off the cloth-like protector off your machine in a similar manner you do to your girl when you're about to get some. This may be more exciting than that, truth be told. I'm kidding. But lo and behold, you're almost done and your iMac is just teasing you as there is one more layer of protection left. Remove the clear protector that again is all over your device, as well as removing the protector that's on the foot of the computer, and voila! Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 2019 iMac. Now, taking a quick tour of this stunning device, first thing that pops out is that massive 27-inch 5K Retina display, and it is something you must see in person to truly appreciate. It has a 5120 by 2880 resolution with support for 1 billion colors. That's a shit ton of colors. Try to name at least 15 colors right now. Bet you can't. It also features 500 nits of brightness, which is fairly good for a desktop computer. Just don't have your brightness raised all the way on and turn on your display at 5 a.m. when you just wake up. Trust me, man, you don't want to experience that kind of pain. Lastly, it has a P3 wide color gamut as well. Something that is very noticeable are those enormous bezels. Seriously, these bezels are huge. I would say on the sides, they're about an inch wide, and you're telling me Apple really couldn't have stretched out the screen into those ancient bezels? Anyway, housed within the mammoth bezels is your FaceTime HD camera, which records at the exact same quality as an eggplant. It has a measly 720 megapixel camera, and in 2019, this is utterly unacceptable. I know most people tend to FaceTime on their phone, but come on, this is cutting corners at its finest. You're telling me, with all the room inside this machine, they couldn't have fit at least a 1080p camera? It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, I'm getting heated. Let's move on. You'll also see the chin of the iMac, which is again a little large, and right in the center you'll find the obligatory Apple logo. Turn the machine around and you'll see that the hinge and base are both very sturdy with a good angle of articulation for the machine, but no ability to move the display up or down across from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and can't move the display sideways from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock either. You can simply just adjust the angle, which I feel is okay, but I know some brodies that are 6'5" who would like to have their display to be able to be moved up or down. On the back, you also get this big ol' Apple logo, and it's not just for show. It's actually a window for your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity to be able to pass through a little better than with the aluminum chassis. If you look down, you'll notice the heart of your entertainment setup, the wide array of I/O ports. Looking from left to right, we have two very important I/O ports that are extremely important to content creators, that being a headphone jack and an SD card slot, which I'm super glad Apple kept. Even on the MacBook Pros, touted as machines for professionals, the SD card slot is missing. In typical Apple fashion, on the MacBook Pro, you'll have to buy an additional adapter for your SD card. What a lovely surprise. Next, we have 3 USB ports, 2 USB Type-C ports, and a quick side note, I wish Apple could have included 4 USB-C ports like they do on their iMac Pros, but 2 will get the job done, I guess. And finally, a gigabit Ethernet port if you want to hardwire your internet to your machine. Right in the middle is your port for power. Above that, you have some ventilation, and thankfully, Apple retained the little door which houses your RAM sticks. I would highly recommend doing this yourself, as if you want to upgrade your RAM directly through Apple, you're looking at spending about $1,000 on a 60GB kit. Instead, head over to Amazon and cop a RAM upgrade kit yourself. I picked up 2 16GB sticks for about $200, or you could fork over $500 with Apple for the same exact 2 16GB sticks. Your choice. In order to upgrade your RAM, press the little button to release the little window. Now, pull apart the hinges and your RAM access slots pop out. Simply insert the new RAM and make sure they're facing the right way. You should hear a nice little click if they're in the right way. Once complete, just make sure your window is firmly back on your iMac and go to System Preferences to make sure your RAM slots were correctly installed. As a video editor, I need as much RAM as I could get. Which, speaking of, what's amazing about the new 2019 iMacs is they're now supported up to a mammoth 128GB of RAM, but that won't come cheap. But man, 128 gigs of RAM is massive and will make your already roided up iMac even beefier. And finally, at the bottom, you'll find your downfiring speakers, which are extremely impressive. They're not as good as the iMac Pro speakers, but they're excellent and have a really good amount of bass to them. Now moving on to the internals, because this is where all the magic happened for the new updated iMacs. The base configuration of the 27-inch iMac comes with an 8th gen Intel Core i5 3.0 GHz 6-core processor with turbo boost up to 4.1 GHz, 8 GB of DDR4 RAM, a 1TB Fusion drive, and a Radeon Pro 570X with 4 GB of GDDR5 memory for an entry-level price of $1,799, which honestly isn't too bad considering most 15-inch MacBook Pros are more expensive than the iMacs. But I mean, I guess you do pay for portability. but the customization on these machines is great, and you can have yours custom ordered and built to order, which is what I did with this machine. With this being my new main production machine, I had to make sure it was beefed up to the max. My configuration is for a 3.6 GHz, 8-core 9th generation i9 processor capable of turbo boosting up to an impressive 5.0 GHz, but we'll see if this will thermal throttle and actually reach that 5.0 GHz claim. I didn't upgrade the RAM through Apple since I already had the two 16GB sticks for my previous iMac, with the included 8GB from my iMac, so that puts my computer up to 40GB of RAM. I opted for the best graphics card option available, that being the Radeon Pro Vega 48, and also opted for a 3TB Fusion drive. This is one gripe I do have. While a Fusion drive combines the inexpensive components of a hard drive, it contains very little flash storage, which I believe should come standard on an Apple desktop machine in 2019. It's crazy because an additional terabyte of Fusion drive was an extra $100. But if you chose to max out your storage with an SSD at 2TB, it's an extra $1,100. It's just way too much, and it's crazy that these machines still have physical moving parts when it comes to storage. If you wanted to max out your iMac with max storage, best graphics card, and everything, not including software or accessories, you're looking at dropping $5,250. So make sure you upgrade with what you need, since aside from RAM, upgrading the graphics card or your processor is not supposed to be user upgradable. Still though, I feel the iMacs do give you a really good value for what you pay as compared to other devices like the MacBook Pro or some other iOS devices. Now in terms of performance, we should see almost 50% better results as compared to the previous 2017 iMacs. I did run a few Geekbench and Cinebench tests, but I haven't had enough time to fully test it out and compare it to my older 2017 4-core i5 iMac. So in terms of real-world performance gains, I can't say yet, but based off the Geekbench scores, it seems the multi-core score was more than doubled, which means Final Cut, Logic Pro, and apps like Photoshop should see very noticeable and considerable gains. For Geekbench, on my 2017 i5 iMac, I got a single core score of 5,570 compared to 6,141 on the new iMac 2019s. Now on the multi-core side is where we're going to see the biggest gains. On the previous 2017 model, I got a score of 16,383. Now comparing that over to the 2019 models, and I get a whopping 31,890, nearly doubling that performance. Now when we head over to Cinebench, we do have a similar story as well. On the 2017 iMac, I got an OpenGL score of 101.93 frames per second compared to 124.28 frames per second, and that was helped by the Vega 48 graphics card. On the CPU side, I got 604 versus 1,482 on the 2019 iMac, so multi-core performance is nearly doubled on this machine. I'm honestly extremely excited that the customized 8-core iMacs rival that of the entry-level iMac Pro, and am beyond excited to work with this iMac. I wonder just how much faster exporting 4K videos and rendering times will take now with the Beast Radeon Pro graphics card, so stay tuned for an in-depth comparison comparing the real-world performance of the two computers. Obviously, the iMac is beloved by many for its beautiful all-in-one design and elegant solution to your everyday needs. Despite the iPhones and Apple Watches dominating sales for Apple at the moment, it seems Apple doesn't really care about the iMac since it accounts for a very tiny fraction of their overall sales. We can see that since this update came after a 2-year hiatus of the 2017 iMac slowly starting to show its age. It's sad since the iMac was a product that firmly cemented Apple into the mainstream and made it the multi-billion-dollar company it is today. This is why I was fairly disappointed that there was no redesign. All the upgrades are internal, but at least the internal upgrades are really juicy. I was hoping for a radical new 32-inch display with minimal bezels, Face ID, and maybe even a wireless keyboard with a touch bar. Like, man, this would make people want to buy the iMac again. But with a dated design, how much longer will Tim Apple and his gang keep this up? In the way of innovation, Apple's severely lacking, especially when you recycle the design of your desktop computer for going on 7+ years now. It's not a bad design by any means. It's very iconic and has a certain luster to it that other desktops can't compete with. Internally as well, I'm proud to say Apple did good by including options for 8 cores for those of us wanting to video edit or are into photography without having to drop upwards of 7, 8, 9, and up to 15,000 on a top of the line iMac Pro. The 27-inch 5K Retina display will have you mesmerized instantly. I remember when I first got my 27-inch iMac, I would count the hours at work just to get home and surf the internet on that gorgeous display. It also has a very clean solution with the minimalist keyboard and mouse, and you can get even better precision while editing if you opt to get the optional trackpad, which I may make a review on later on in the future since I find my iMac trackpad to be so useful while editing with all the gestures like pinch to zoom and other things as well. All in all, the new iMacs are a very potent upgrade if you're coming from older iMac models except for the 2017 model. If you come from a 2017 iMac, yes, we do see double gains on multi-core, but you might have to weigh out your options. Only reason I upgraded from the 2017 iMac is because of the very powerful 8-core i9 as compared to the 4-core i5, and of course for the Vega graphics card instead of the 580 found on my 2017 iMac. Whatever your needs are, the iMac has a special place in my heart and in the Apple ecosystem. A lot of magic can happen with this machine, and it is simply one of the best experiences ever just browsing the internet. You can't go wrong with it if you have the money to drop on it. Photographers, musicians, video editors, it's a go out and get now for me. You won't be disappointed. For more casual use, you can get away with the 21-inch iMacs, which now are worthy of picking up with the 6-core processors and upgraded RAM options. If only Apple could put more priority into their iMacs once again and give them the spotlight they truly deserve. That's been it for me guys on the iMac. This wasn't so much a benchmark or stress test of any means, but rather just reviewing the iMac from an average user perspective. If you guys want, comment down below if you'd like to see a more in-depth review of just how powerful the iMac can be and whether or not it down throttles, and even throw in some Final Cut Pro editing tests to see how quickly it can render and export videos as compared to older models. Also, let me know what your thoughts on the iMac are. Have you always wanted to pick one up? Do you think they're too expensive? Do you hate macOS? Let me know down below and subscribe to my channel for future content just like this and much more, including huge giveaways, which speaking of, I'm currently running an AirPods 2 giveaway with consolation prizes for 2nd and 3rd place that ends on April 27th, 2019. So make sure to follow me on social media so you're always in the loop for these exciting opportunities. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.